Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Good Coach, Bad Coach. I'm a super coach, Micheal, Burt. We believe one good coach can change your life. We believe a podcast, a radio show can change your life as well. And we believe everybody needs a coach in life. So every week we come to you every Friday, 2 p.m. on the greatnessnetwork.com. You can also download the podcast at Stitcher Radio, at iTunes, at Podcast Republic. And what we basically tackle is how to become a great coach. I was on the phone this morning, Bruce, with the head coach from Ole Miss this morning, who's got a very young team, and we were working through some strategies in how to mature his team. And I told him if he has not read this book, which I know we're going to be talking about today, Saban, The Making of a Coach by Monty Burke, that he definitely need to pick it up because it's been a fascinating read. And I know you want to talk about some subjects from this book. So let's get started.
You didn't tell us about the premise of the show. There are a lot of bad
well, I was going to hold that off.
coaches out there.
Listen, and I know why there's a lot of bad coaches if you're out there listening or watching this show, because there's no school for coaches. There's no direct training for coaches. I mean, I know college coaches that are supposed to be good coaches, that they were players. They never went to coaching school. I know lots of managers out there, which we specialize in with our program called Turn Your Managers into Coaches.
I like it.
I was with Churchill Mortgage this morning, and they are yearning to learn how to be great coaches. They are silently begging to be led, and they're looking for managers to step up and become coaches. So Bruce Lund, the next Burt.
Well, one guy we know is a great coach. It is this guy, right? Nick Saban. And as you normally do, Coach, when you read a book, you submerge yourself into that book.
Yes.
And then you come out and you teach those concepts. And so our Monday morning scrum this week was on the systems of a great team led by a great coach.
Yes.
What makes Nick Saban such a great coach?
Well, it's interesting. If you haven't read the book, I encourage you to read it. It's The Making of a Coach, Nick Saban, Monty Burke. And this book took me back to my coaching days. And it reminded me of all of the things that we've gotten away from. The discipline, the process, the rigor, the structure. He is a process guy. And he's a process guy because he met a psychologist while at Michigan State early in his coaching career that taught him how to break things down and make everything about the journey, not the destination, the process, not the product. And it just got me thinking, sales professionals don't prospect like they should every day. There is no accountability. People come and go as they please. They do whatever they want to. And none of that happens in Saban's world. He controls the experience. And another thing he does when it comes to recruiting, he makes meticulous notes. He has a scoring system on how he goes out and recruits, and he's very good when he gets to people face to face by being brutally honest.
So how are we going to start to take these concepts and incorporate them into the corporate world?
Well, the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to stick to our weekly scrum. Daily accountability sessions, accountability partners, focus on the process, hold people accountable too. Now, let me tell you what this is tough. For example, today I've been coaching people since 7:30 this morning, straight through all day. And so I don't have a lot of time to manage the process to people. I don't have a lot of time to say, Bruce, go through your hit list. Who's on there? Who's in your farm club? And our operation is just becoming bigger, is that I don't know every person that are in our coaching programs. I don't know every lead that we've got, which is a good thing, but it freaks me out a little bit because I want to make sure we're not dropping the ball. We're delivering on the experience. We're actually doing what we said we're going to do. So what I think that's going to come through a lot of accountability and a structure and a process.
So does a guy like Nick Saban have to be a part of every piece of the process? As far as him being a coach in Alabama and all these other places that he's been, is he submerged hands-on with the process?
Yes. One of the things all of his assistant coaches constantly say is that he knows everything that's going on. He has a very systematic routine. He is engaged in some way. And every person on that staff knows that he's paying attention to the process. And he's turned everything into a process. Everything. Recruiting, the way they practice. He goes and sells people on him and the program and gets buy-in. I mean, it's a really fascinating, he's really a great businessman that happens to be a football coach.
And you've done that a lot, and we've talked about that on this show a lot, is you've taken a lot of these athletic principles and converted them over to the business world and vice versa. How can great managers learn from a guy like Nick Saban then?
I think the first thing you got to do is, when I hold this book up at a training, people immediately tune him out or tune him in. They say he quit multiple jobs. Here, at the end of the day, I don't care, just to be honest with you. I don't care if I like him or I don't like him. The question is, what can I learn from him? What can I extract from him? And what I can extract from him is this discipline and rigor to the process of focusing on the process versus the product. That's why he seems so unhappy when he wins, because he doesn't care about the winning and the losing. He gets his rocks off in the journey, in the daily doing. And I'm a lot like that. You know, we have a big sales month. I think it's great, but it doesn't drive me. It's the doing that drives me. It's the exerting. It's the pushing, the trying to really become great. And he really doesn't care about the scoreboard. He's not measuring himself versus a scoreboard.
There's two things that you said there that I wanted to point out. One is, typically if coaches are closed off, then they're not going to be great coaches.
That's right.
So if you immediately say, what can I learn from Nick Saban, then you're closed off as a coach, you're probably not a great coach.
Yep.
We have that problem sometimes in our coaching programs where people are immediately turned off and they're not open, they're not humble, they're teachable. That's a problem. So that's number one. Number two is that you mentioned is he has been in a lot of different places. He's gone from Toledo for, I think he was there for 4 or 5 years, MSU 4 or 5 years, LSU 4 or 5 years. Then he goes on to the Miami Dolphins for 2 years and then back to Alabama. Alabama has been his longest stint. And so I found it very interesting that a guy has jumped 4 or 5 years at a time. And you talk about that being the process. I know we got to go to break here, and so maybe we'll talk about that after the break.
Save that one and come back to the break, because there's a reason that a guy is wired like him wants to move around, and it's because he loves the turnaround. He loves the thrill of turning something around. You're watching Good Coach, Bad Coach. I'm Coach Micheal Burt, the Super Coach. Bruce Lund, the next Burt. When we come back, we're getting into the making of a coach, Nicky Saban. Hey, this is Coach Micheal Burt, and I have a prediction. Within the next 5 years, every manager in the world will have to become a coach. You know, a good coach will do 3 things for you. They make you have conversations you don't want to have. They make you do some things you don't want to do. They'll help you become something you didn't think you could become. This transition, what I call the coaching revolution, prompted me to create a program called Turn Your Managers into Coaches. What we want to do is drive up engagement, drive up production. We want to become a manager other people want to follow. If you've got managers out there that you want to turn into coaches that engage people in systematic behaviors that allows them to do something tomorrow they simply cannot do today, pick up the phone and call us, 225-8380, 615-225-8380, or email us at info@coachburt.com, and we're going to teach you how to turn your managers into great coaches. Hey guys, Coach Micheal Burt, welcome back. Another episode of Good Coach, Bad Coach, Secrets that Great Coaches Know. If you've got managers and they're not watching this show, why not? If you're a college coach, you're not watching this show or listening to the show, why not? Every week we talk about things that will help you become a better coach, okay? And we believe that good coaches can change a person's life. Bad coaches squander talent. We're talking about Nick Saban, The Making of a Coach, new book that I'm reading by Monty Burke. I found it a fascinating book. Saban came out and did not endorse this book. If you go to YouTube, he comes out and says, I don't believe in unauthorized biographies. He said, one day I will write an authorized biography of my own self. But I think Monty Burke did a great job. And really, it makes him look like a genius, in my opinion. It makes him look like a genius. So I think Monty Burke doesn't Saban a service. He doesn't do him a disservice. He actually makes him look like the genius I think the guy is.
Good. Yeah, so before the break, Coach, we kind of led in with Saban's been to all these different schools, and he's basically there for 4 or 5 years at a time outside of Alabama now, where he's been 7 years. And even a lot of people a couple years ago said, is Saban going to leave for the NFL, or is Saban going to go here, is Saban going to go there? Because he has had a track record of bouncing around from place to place. Why is that?
2 things, I think. I think one, maybe people and cultures tire of him and his bulldogish approach. I think people just get wore down on somebody pushing that hard. I think number 2, guys that are built like him need a challenge. Once he's mastered it, he's conquered it, he's always looking for something bigger. Yeah. We get restless, man. We get restless. I mean, this is a guy that after the LSU championship went into a room like this one by himself and was just furious And he called his 2 best players in and said, I need to know right now if you're declaring for the NFL. This is after they won a championship.
Yeah.
So he can't really be happy. He can't really, and he's not happy in the result. He's happy in the process of getting there. And so a guy like that needs variety. He needs change. And I think if he would have stayed with the Miami Dolphins, he would have turned them around. He basically took a 1-9 team and turned them into like a 8-4, 8-5 team in his first year at Miami. It just, some of his tactics don't work in the NFL because basically overpaid, overpriced bozos in the NFL that think they don't need a coach.
And that is a good point, because at the college ranks, you have a guy and you basically listen to that guy, or you're gone. You're off scholarship.
Yep.
They get rid of you. Or college is a lot more short term, 4 or 5 years to go on to play at the next level, or you move on to the next journey. Do you think that factors in at all from him being an NFL coach versus a college coach, of being 4 to 5 years? Because a lot of people say that same thing about Harbaugh.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, but Harbaugh was a successful NFL coach,
Yeah.
right? And so I think it'll be easier for him to go back to college because there's more control. There's more control mechanisms. But at the end of the day, no matter what level you're coaching at, do your players buy into you or not? Do they drink the Kool-Aid or they don't? Do they trust you or do they not? Lots of people, even in NFL, respected his coaching ability. Guy's been coaching since he's 5 or 6 years old. And so by the time you get to 48, 49, 50 years old, he's been doing this from the time he was a little kid. While he was in college, he started coaching.
Yep.
And so after you do something for 30 years, you become world-class at it. But the guy's got a drive and a tenacity and a process focus about him that's very uncommon.
So you probably touched on this, but let's end on the show on this note. What's the one thing that you've taken from this book? Because it's a big book. What's one key concept? Because you do a very good job of that, where you implement one key concept.
A relentless pursuit on the day-to-day process of becoming great, doing your job, following through to its logical conclusion. He is a master at not focusing on outcomes, but literally going back and focusing on the process day in and day out.
The day out grind, baby. The day in, day out grind.
And listen, guys, it ain't sexy. When I became an entrepreneur, we get lured into believing, oh, it'll be a great life. You'll get to take off when you want to and work. But at the end of the day, there's no shortcut for success. There's no shortcutting the process. The process is just as important as the product. So what's the takeaway? Focus on the process. Discipline and rigor.
The process must always be followed.
The price
must always be paid.
The price must always be paid. This is Good Coach, Bad Coach. Everybody needs a good coach in life. Bruce Lund, the next Burt. Follow him at Bruce Lund. Follow me at Micheal Burt, the Super Coach, every week, 2 p.m. on the Greatness Network.
Thank you, guys.